Oi oi, Nadolig Llawen. Happy Christmas to one and all. There is a long tradition of telling spooky stories at Christmas. I think it was like the Victorians that did it first, and I thought I'd bring it back because I love a spooky story. I love having an excuse to write something dark. And you can tell I've made an effort with the makeup to look quite Nutcracker Sweet Doll like. The first story I'm going to read you is a brand new one and was written after I thought, I wonder about Uncanny Valley. About whether when something looks so much like us, and even if it creeps us out, do they become imbued with a little bit of soul? So this one is called Baby Born. The boy looks out through eyes of glass to a world of sparkling light. He is unwrapped from his blanket and placed lovingly in the arms of a woman who has exhaustion etched on her face and folded in the lines on her forehead. She smiles and rocks him gently, singing him the lullaby her mother sang to her. Darling of my heart, sleep well, sleep true. Look forward to waking to a world built just for you. The woman puts a finger into the curled hand of the boy and rocks him while she continues singing. A tear splashes on his face, but he doesn't feel it. Mama. The word floats into existence around her. The boy cannot yet form words, he is too new, but he feels the concept soak through to his very soul. Mama. She squeezes him and the word comes unbidden to his mouth. Mama. The woman hears him and cries again, putting the boy back into his box-like cradle where he sleeps. When he wakes, it is too rough for hands. This isn't healthy. This isn't right. He hears a deep, cracking voice talking to Mama. The rough hands squeeze the boy, and the word Papa rises from his gut to his lips, and the man drops him back into his bed with a broken sob. This time, the boy does not sleep. He listens. He listens while Papa speaks to someone the boy cannot see. It's me. Yeah, no, she's not here. I had to send her back to the ward. I know. It isn't her fault. I tried, you know? Yeah, she did it again. A boy this time. It's a sickness. Women lose children all the time. It happens and we're just unlucky. No. She won't even talk about adoption. And at this point, I don't know if I want to. She just isn't, well enough. Time passes and the boy with the glass eyes lies unloved in his crib. No one holds him. He tries to call for Mama, but no sound comes. He tries to call Papa, but he is busy talking to the invisible people. Hey, it's me. She's coming home. Yeah, they think she got a grasp of the situation enough to be here. No, yeah. I'm going to have to get rid of it before I go and pick her up. I don't know much more I can do. I can't go through this again. It's killing me. Yeah. Speak soon. Bye. The boy with the glass eyes is being held in one hand and carried carelessly up the stairs to the attic. A big box is opened, and in that moment he sees the bodies of the other babies that came before him. The man squeezes him one more time before throwing him in. Papa? No. 'Tis a growl that comes from the gut as the man pushes him deeper into the box, stuffing him in, pressing down on the other bodies as he does. Pushing on the boy who sees through glass eyes, elicits one last papa. As the dark enfolds him, he hears two things. One is the footsteps of the man walking away. The second is a cacophony of small voices asking, "Brother?" Thank you very much. That's your first story. That was the first one I wrote. I'm going to read them in order that I wrote them, I think, because they do actually get darker as we go along. So, on to the next story. The next story is one that some of you will have heard before, and I know Lynette's heard it because she was there when I first performed it. So the second one was written, this story was written when I was at university and we were told to write something that just had dialogue, and it expanded from there, and it's got its whole own universe now. There is the whole universe of Ellen and the girls. So here we go. This one is called Childish Things. The girls won't settle, she says to her mother on the phone. There is a catch in her voice. No matter how hard she tries to hide it, her mum can hear it. "Oh, Ellen," she says, "I wish I could help. It's hard for me being this far away. I'll come seeing you soon. That'll help, won't it, love?" Ellen almost laughs for the first time in a long time. As she hangs up, she hangs her head. Hard for a mum? She has no idea. She is sitting in the doctor's waiting room. It is always busy, NHS cuts, she supposes, but this morning it is packed. Alice is fussy and Lucy is screaming. Ellen thinks everyone is watching her, judging her. She is close to screaming herself. An old woman looks at Ellen's dirty hair, messy clothes and crumpled face with alarm, but not without compassion. We've all been there, she thought. She almost recognises Ellen. Almost. It's the girls, you see, Ellen says. They just won't settle. The old woman nods. She remembers where she knows Ellen from, and suddenly she understands. Her doctor is busy writing while Ellen talks. She hasn't used her voice so much for a very long time, and she shocks herself at the sound of it. Shaky, unsure, quiet. She's worried the doctor thinks her mad, unable to look after herself, let alone anyone else. You need to sleep, Ellen. You are doing yourself no good carrying on like this, says the doctor. I'm glad you've come in, though. It's obvious you need some help. You said your mum was coming to see you soon? Yes, says Ellen, staring at the floor. Maybe she can help me settle the girls. The doctor stops writing and looks at her concerned. Ellen leaves with a prescription for sleeping pills and antidepressants. She's not sure they will help. Her mum left. After the front door closed, Ellen let out a sigh. She loved her mum, but honestly, she was glad to have the pace back to herself. She felt a bit better when her mum was here. The girls didn't scream so much, and she'd actually managed a couple of naps. Mum denied being able to hear them anyway, kept calling them her angels. Wouldn't hear a bad word. Anytime Helen tried to talk to her about how difficult things were with the girl, Mum headed straight for the kettle. Ellen had never drunk so much tea. She'd also managed to have a bath and wash her hair while her mum put the hoover round and did laundry. Honestly, it felt nice to be taken care of again. Baby clothes had been washed, dried, folded and put away. The house, like Ellen, was clean. Ellen leaned against the front door, took a deep breath and waited. For a wonderful 3 seconds it was peaceful. Quiet. She exhaled, and the screaming began again. She went to see Harris, the father of her children. She told him that the girls would not settle. She begged him to help her. She hated herself for begging, mind. She needed his help, so she appealed to his worst nature. He could help her settle the girls if he wanted to. He called her mad. Said that he has washed his hands of the girls, of her, when he'd washed himself clean. He laughed at her. He said she would never be free of their screams. Alice cried louder when he said that, though of course he pretended he couldn't hear her. Lucy whimpered. But then she always had in his presence. She'd been an idiot to think he would help, even if he could. She was glad he was locked up. Glad he could never hurt any of them ever again. Ellen sat in the kitchen table feeling more calm than she had in a long while. The girls were still screaming, of course, but she was at peace with it now. She finished writing her letter and carefully folded it, putting it gently into an envelope. Envelope sealed with a kiss. She put it prominently on the table. She didn't want it missed. The girls had been screaming for 3 days straight now. Poor things. They just wanted their mummy. Ellen put the noose around her neck. As she kicked the chair away, she whispered, "It's okay, girls. Mummy is coming." Thank you very much. That was spooky story number 2. I really like doing these. I really do. I like reading to people, it would seem. It's so much fun, especially when it's stuff I've written. The next one we have has a gaming theme. Oh yeah. I thought I can't do this on a gaming platform and not have one on a gaming. So this one about gaming is called QuickTime Event. On the screen, just in his peripheral vision, were the choices he had to make. X to talk her down from the roof, circle to leave her to it, triangle to jump with her, and square to push her off. He was going to talk her down, of course he was. It was just he'd put the game on pause to answer the phone and he got distracted. As usual. It was one of the reasons she'd given him for the breakup. He didn't call when he said he was going to. "Sorry babe, got distracted." He was late for their anniversary dinner. "Sorry babe, I got distracted." One awful birthday 3 years ago, he had almost reached for his phone to send a text while they were having sex. "Sorry babe, I didn't want to forget it. I get distracted." Now she'd had enough. He'd been playing Take a Life, Save a Life on his PlayStation, and he had forgotten to go to her grandmother's funeral. Couldn't understand why she was so annoyed with it, to be honest. Her grandma didn't really like him, and it wasn't as if the old bag would know he wasn't there. The screen flashed with a dialogue box. Console going into sleep mode in 5 minutes. He bypassed that by quickly unpausing and then hitting pause again, and still the choices flashed. More insistently, it seemed this time. He'd get to it now in a minute. He hit a TikTok notification and doom scrolled for a while. He wished he could go viral on TikTok. He never could seem to decide what to do. By the time he jumped on a trend, everyone else was jumping off. Loud music blared in his ears, insistent, urgent. He looked at the television and wondered how it had unpaused itself. He may have got distracted, but the game was not prepared to wait, it would seem. Take a Life, Save a Life was a great game. had amazing facial recognition, so you could like put a photo of your mates or your loved ones and it would make the in-game characters look exactly like them. You couldn't choose whose face went on who though. I mean, it would affect your choices if you did that. You wouldn't want to hurt those you loved, would you? That was how he was now being faced with choosing whether or not to push a woman off a building. A few minutes ago, he would definitely have saved her, but she was wearing her face. And now he wasn't sure if he was just going to like give her a nudge off the edge. For a moment, he mused on the idea that it would be terrible if video games were like dreams. They said that in dreams, if you hit the ground, then you died in real life. Stupid that was. How would they know? Like you could come back and say, lads, you never guess what I was dreaming about. And they'd be like, but you're dead. The character on the screen looked him in the eye. You couldn't do it anyway. You'd probably get distracted partway through and forget to kill me. An anger surged through him. His thumb hovered over the square button. He could just push her off. No one would know. It was a petty revenge, but it made him feel a bit better. So what was the harm? The woman on the screen, the one who looked like her, smirked, and that was it. He pressed the square button and went to push her off the building that looked so much like the flats they had lived in. At the last moment, she stepped aside and his momentum took him over the edge. Just before he hit the pavement and the breath left him for the last time in the real world, he heard her voice. Sorry, babe. I got distracted. Thank you very much. So I hope you're enjoying yourselves. I hope you're enjoying the spooky stories. As I'm very much enjoying telling them to you. So what shall we have next? Next up is an old favourite of mine. And I wrote this for Matt Troy when he did a Halloween spooky story event, and I really love it. It's the one that I really do enjoy reading out. So this one is one that's about folklore, and does folklore, the thing that intrigued me about this was folklore. Where does it start? Who starts it all off? It could be the smallest of things, and the smallest of things becomes the biggest of things, and suddenly you've got a thing. So this is called A Walk Around the Block. When I was just starting out as a book collector, I was handed a journal from a house clearance company that I might be interested in. Local history, they said. Came from that house up on the Graig. I didn't need to ask which one. I took it and paid handsomely for it too. I mean, who wouldn't? But it was a dull read at best. Just gardening calendars by the looks of things. The cover was pretty beaten up, but I thought it might sell with some restoration work. It was then that I found the letter tucked inside the cover by way of a barely noticeable slit by the spine. I opened it, sat with a glass of wine, and read the brittle-looking pages. To whoever reads this, these are the words of, well, you know her name. I'm not usually superstitious, but it's bad luck to say it out loud. To speak her name will call her to you, and you don't want to call her to you. She will come. According to the legend, she will never leave. So I won't say it. I shall just say that we usually call her the Graig Walker. She goes on to say that they're all true, but she wants to set the record straight. Go for a walk around the block. That's what he said when he wanted to beat her in peace. My poor mother. More bruised than woman most of the time. Go for a walk around the block, he said, when he wanted privacy to take his time in the torture he felt his right to inflict. I tried to stay, to help, to protect her, Go for a walk around the block, her pleading eyes said. Great pools of brown beseeching me to go. Go now, before he turns it onto you. The quick, firm squeeze of her hand on mine telling me she would survive. Endure, but just go. Go for a walk around the block, he said. Like it was that easy, as if my bones and muscles ever communicated in anything other than hisses and snarls, directed at me or each other, mattered not. When I read The Little Mermaid, it was said that after she got her legs, every step was like walking on knives. I knew how she felt, and would have happily swapped my useless appendages for a fishtail. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave her with him. Besides, I knew what my block looked like in glorious, minute detail. I had walked my block 1,000 times. It's not allowed anywhere else. I'd been born a deformed troll of a thing, according to him, on a mountain, and if I got down it, no one was sure I would make it back up again. When he got that look in his eye, I wasn't sure I would try. Go for a walk around the block, he said. So around the block I went. The screaming started before I even got the front door closed behind me. I couldn't stop. I walked so far that I knew when the forget-me-nots bloomed and when they died, though I can't remember exactly what day it was. The days were something I couldn't really get a grasp of. It got light, I walked. It got dark, I slept. Somewhere in between, I tried not to be too much of a burden. Tried not to set him off. I saw the Spanish roses bloom like her smile, red, liquid. Now and then I saw strange small mounds of earth appear overnight in the communal garden, and I saw the purple and yellow irises that reminded me of her eyes crumple under the strain of neglect. Like him, it got hot and cold and hot and cold again, and still I walked around the block. I was walking when the ambulance took her away. I nodded from a socially acceptable distance when Eileen from next door told me just how sorry she was. But her eyes wouldn't meet mine when she said it. She may have been half blind, but she wasn't deaf, and he was not quiet. I walked and walked, my steps slow, my legs on fire. I walked round and round the block. Graig Gerthed, they called me, the walking lady. My crutches collected dust, rain, pollen and cut grass. My mind collected images of skeletal, unloved, forgotten flesh and memories of screaming and whispered placation. I walked when the hearse came, and I walked when he came back looking beaten and alone. I was tired of walking, tired of listening, tired of nodding. I was tired of bearing witness to the passing of the seasons while I stayed static. Mostly, I was just tired. But I couldn't stop, not until he came out to beg me to come home. I did just that. I went home, I walked through the door, and I took over where she had left off. Every few months I would be seized by unbearable cramps, and he would take what flooded out of me and bury it in the communal garden. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I could barely feel. That I was alive anymore. I couldn't sleep for the sound of crying babies and her voice calling me, telling me to go for a walk around the block. I would scream in the face of the person who I saw if I was made to walk around the block anymore. I wanted to run down the mountain. I wanted to jump naked into the taff. I wanted to drown myself. I just wanted it to stop, but my stupid legs would not let me. I went to the outhouse and killed the animal. Then I chopped up the meat. It took me a few months to bury all the pieces. I had to sneak out at night, you see, plant them under the bushes in the dark in secret. I think maybe the neighbours knew, but they didn't say anything. They probably just enjoyed the quiet. I enjoyed the quiet. The absence of noise is a special kind of quiet. One to be cherished. No more crying babies, no more pleading voices, no more screaming, no more him. Though sometimes I wake in the night, sure I can hear the clunk and shuffle of crutches and disobedient feet walking around the block. There is only one way to escape the walking. Only one way. I will do it tomorrow after one last walk. I hope I just don't end up walking forever. Yours. No, I'm still not saying her name. What do you take me for? I sold the book, dull as it was. It still had value, but I kept the letter. It's in a box under my bed. I don't get it out and look at it, but I feel I should keep it safe. Don't know what else to do with it, or the fact that since I found it, sometimes, just sometimes, when I lie in bed at night and the traffic is gone, and even the owls and bats have returned to their perches, I can hear the clunk and shuffle of footsteps. Clunk, shuffle, clunk, shuffle, clunk, shuffle, like somebody is walking round the block. Thank you. So, thank you all. I will say a proper thank you and goodbye when I finish this story. So, but thank you all for coming. I really, really appreciate that I'm not sat reading just to myself. Oh, I would do it. Okay, so this is called It's Cold Outside. I really can't stay, she said, reaching for her coat. Baby, it's cold outside, he replied. Very quick, she said. But really, I have got to go. It's getting late. He placed himself between her and the door. You always leave before midnight. Does your car turn into a pumpkin after that? She giggled in a way she hoped was placating. Silly. It's just that I like to be in my bed at a reasonable hour. She checked her pocket for her keys. This evening has been so very nice. Nice? I don't want nice. I want passion. And I know you think you're a good girl, but you want it too. He was smiling, but he was still between her and the door. There was mistletoe hanging above it. Where she was from, it gave her protection. Where he was from, it meant a non-consensual kiss. I gotta go away. It's Christmas Eve tomorrow. I'm visiting families. Busy time and I need sleep before the drive. Baby, it's freezing out there. Are you sure you're safe to drive home? Are you sure I'm safe here? Of course, baby. You can sleep in my bed and I'll sleep on the sofa. She realised two things. One, that she hated being called baby without her name in front of it. And two, she was not safe here. He was the kind of guy who would come in while she was asleep, she was sure. She was also certain that if she tried to sneak out in the middle of the night, he was the kind of guy to be awake on the sofa asking where she thought she was going. She knew a key was needed to unlock the front door, and a quick glance told her it was not in the keyhole. She knew she was in trouble. This evening has been so very nice, but I have to go, he said. What's your hurry? Will you turn into a witch or something? Just one more drink, eh? She spotted the front door key on the coffee table and agreed to get close to it. She listened to the fireplace roaring while he got her a drink. It was a real fire too, complete with open chimney. Maybe she could climb up it if all else failed. He returned with a very large and somewhat cloudy drink. She took the smallest sip she could muster. Baby, it's bad out there. Lots of snow. You can't drive now. What's in this drink? Her eyes had turned to starlight and she shook her head to break the spell. I'll take your hat, he said. Your hair looks swell. She found herself thanking him when really she should be telling him where to get off. She had to leave, just had to. Unfortunately, her muscles wouldn't listen to her, let alone obey. Mind if I move in closer? He didn't wait for an answer, just slid his hand up her thigh. She stiffened. As the clock struck midnight, he kissed her, putting her unresisting arms around him. I'm going to say that I tried to ask. I am being nice. His lips were on her neck now as he spoke. I'm a nice guy. That did it. It was a minute past midnight. She had tried to leave. She had tried to spare him, but hearing him say he was a nice guy, when in truth he was about to rape her, she sighed, knowing that despite her best efforts, it was going to happen again. The answer is no, she said. He acted as if he hadn't heard her. For all intents and purposes, he hadn't. You're so nice and warm, he murmured into her bosom, then yelped as she pushed him off her and stood. Tommy! The roar from her blew out the flames on the open fire. Snow started to drift down the chimney and a thundering was heard at the front door. He glanced at the key, but the wood was already bulging in. It splintered with an almighty crack, snow pouring in. She did not even flinch. She had never been afraid of it being cold outside. She didn't even really feel it, especially not on Christmas Eve. What she did feel was angry. To me, Dancer and Dasher! She stood in the raging snowstorm, arms spread, her red and white dress shining. To me, Prancer and Vixen! The snow swirled around her fingers as her hair turned white. To me, Comet and Cupid! The snow at her fingertips became shaped into ropes which bound him hand and foot. To me, Donner and Blitzen! She walked slowly towards him and, bringing out her special wrapping paper scissors, sliced him across the neck. As the blood covered him and the carpet, the snowstorm slowed. Her rage was over, and so was his life. There were presents still to be delivered, and nobody could get in the way of that. Gently, lovingly, she patted the head of the reindeer who had entered through the now ruined front door. Rudolph, my love, it is always thus, is it not? Rudolph looks like any other reindeer and certainly did not have the red nose for which he was famed. Not yet, anyway. I will get the others ready for flight. She gestured at the blood weakly spurting from the man's neck. You, my love, should feed. Rudolph smiled, dipped his head, and ate. Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed that. The last one I had fun writing them all, but the last one I had really a lot of fun with. So all I will say now is Nadolig Llawen, enjoy your Christmases. I will be back. Hopefully I might do a Valentine's one. What do you think? Shall I do a Valentine's storytelling? I think I should, because I really love it. Okay, I shall write some spooky love stories too and see what I can do there. In the meantime, all I have to say is I've been Diva Dragon Lord. You, as ever, have been amazing. Have a great Christmas, and I will see you next time.